Let me ask you a question. Do you believe we can ever achieve educational equality in the UK? Meaning, can we have a system where all children, regardless of their starting point, can have an educational experience that enables them to fulfill their greatest potential? This past year, I found myself thinking more and more about what is actually possible. Recent events have left the world an almost unrecognizable place to me. Across so many of our schools, teachers are having to find ways to have difficult conversations with their students about identity, fear, hope, and what all these recent events actually mean for their futures. I don't know about you, but I've at times felt quite overwhelmed by the scale of change required. But then I remind myself that history is punctuated with stories of people who rose up in the most turbulent of times, demanding social change for the betterment of the generations that would follow them. I believe that educational equality is at the heart of our generation's mandate for social justice. No, we cannot fix all the issues that are at the root of this inequality overnight. But if we can focus on ensuring all schools have the support and the capacity they need, we can make our education system actually live up to the ideal of being the great equalizer. So let me ask you, please put your hands up if you believe educational equality is truly possible in the UK. Can we actually break the current link between family income and a child's educational outcomes? Well, those of you that don't have your hands raised are certainly in the common sense bracket. I mean, when we look at how complex and pervasive inequality is, it makes sense to doubt the possibility of ever achieving equality for our children. Right now, the stats are stark. In the last 10 years alone, 500,000 children from low-income families were not ready to start school by age 5. So that means they started their formal educational journey already behind. They have less than half the chance of their wealthier peers of attending a school that is rated outstanding. Only 1 in 10 children from low-income families that are cited as being highly academic will ever actually make it to a top university. And when it comes to Oxford or Cambridge, well, those odds are special. The chances of a child on free school meals being admitted to Oxbridge are 1,500 to 1. That's compared to 20 to 1 for children from wealthier backgrounds. Now, some will hear this and say, well, university isn't for everyone. Okay, so let's look at a different post-school route: apprenticeships. In every part of our country, young people from poorer backgrounds are far less likely to go on to do a quality apprenticeship. So if not university and not onto a quality apprenticeship, what are we suggesting millions of children actually do after school? I know the odds are against equality, but I have to believe that we all see how wrong this current state is, how unjust the message is that says to a child, hey, Tommy, sorry, it actually doesn't matter how hard you work or how capable you are. You were born into a poor family, so bad luck. Your educational outcomes are set and they are limited, and that's just the way it is. We can choose to believe that things will remain just how they are, or we can make the decision to challenge this status quo and strive for how things should be. Looking back on our history and the social movements that have truly changed society, they all have one thing in common: stubborn confidence. The kind of confidence that stares unblinkingly at injustice and says, no, a change is going to come. A change must come. The kind of confidence that has the audacity of equality, stubbornly believing that impossible simply means it hasn't been done yet. Stubborn confidence is a power to be reckoned with. When you convince a group of people that change must come, they figure out the how. Regardless of the obstacles they face, once that decision to strive for social justice is made, the focus of everything moves to how. So right here and now, I'm asking you to decide whether all our nation's children deserve to have an equalizing educational experience or not. I didn't ask us how hard this was going to be or what our statistical chances for success are. No, the question is simply based on the kind of society we want to build for our children. Do all our children deserve to have an equalizing educational experience or not? If your heart's cry is yes, then we need to act. Let us actively pursue that outcome, stubbornly focusing on the end goal of social justice and shifting our collective energies to focus on how. This isn't conjecture or idealism. I've personally seen these changes happen. I've seen classrooms, schools, and communities move from feeling like they are prisoners of fate, of low achievement and negativity, to becoming places where they are thriving, learning, and achieving against all likely odds. In every single case, the key turning point was someone who was willing to stand up in the face of what was and point to what could be. These proof points of change exist. They exist at a classroom, at a school, at a community level. They even exist at a regional level. They once said it would be impossible to close the achievement gap in London schools. It was a seemingly insurmountable challenge. Yet in the last 10 years, GCSE results in inner London have gone from being the lowest in England to the highest. They once said it would be impossible to make the idea of teaching in low-income communities an attractive enough top choice for graduates. Yet in the last 10 years, Teach First became the largest graduate recruiter in the UK. Teach First is a charity whose mission is rooted in the belief that this change is possible. We recruit and train individuals to become exceptional teachers in schools serving poorer communities, and we support them in their lifelong commitment to educational equality. Over 7,000 Teach First ambassadors have gone on to lead in schools and across all sectors of our society, working with others as part of a movement for social change. There are many people, schools, organizations that have this same belief. They are working every day to achieve this equality. This year, we launched a campaign to amplify all those efforts together under one collective banner. Today, you can decide to join the campaign to challenge the impossible. There are key things we can be united in our pursuits for. Key things that will break down some of the barriers so many of our schools are facing. We are calling for expert careers advice in every school, student debt to be erased for teachers working in challenging schools, schools to be fairly funded. You can support this mandate now by simply going online. With less than a minute, you can join the voices of thousands and send these asks to your local MPs. With a collective voice, we can take these practical steps to ensure that schools serving children from the poorest backgrounds actually have the support they need. Let me leave you with these final thoughts. I gain a great deal of my confidence and resilience from reflecting on the change makers and the social movements of the past. The people that fought in those efforts for equality are the reason I'm even able to stand here on this stage today. Stand up as a leader, a black, female, born in Nigeria, raised by a single mother in southeast London. Almost all of my characteristics would at one point in our history have excluded me from being able to stand here today. But a group of people stood up at critical moments, spoke up and said, enough, a change must come. We are the generations who have benefited from the impact of the change our forefathers fought and died for. So what will our legacy be? What will our nation's children say about the generation that came before them and the impact we had on the society they will inherit? For the last time, let me ask you the question in a different way. Will you believe we can achieve educational equality in the UK? Getting there may seem impossible, but I am willing to stand on the shoulders of my forefathers and challenge the impossible. I will take on that baton. Will you do the same? Thank you.